Hey everybody, this is Adam Gardner with Adjuster Pro, and thank you for joining us in this series on how to use Xactimate. And just a little refresher, this is how to use Xactimate for insurance adjusting, for writing insurance claims, although the training here is going to be just as applicable for contractors and anybody else who needs to estimate repairs. So we're starting out. We're still in the beginning stages of learning Xactimate. And in this particular lesson, we're going to go a step further into understanding Sketch. In particular, we're going to be dealing with basic rooms. We've just recently learned how to place a room on Sketch using the room tool. Now we're going to go a little bit more into a little more detail about how to change the size and adjust things in the room, and also how to add jogs. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So just as a reminder, if you're at this lesson, this lesson assumes that you already know how to put a basic room from the room tool in Sketch onto the palette in Sketch. So if you don't know that, please refer to an earlier lesson, and if you do, feel free to join me. Okay, so let's get going. Now, the screen you're looking at right now is the Control Center. You'll see the tabs up at the top: Xactimate, Control Center, Projects, and Price Lists. We're at the Control Center, and we're at the dashboard in the Control Center. And the last exercise we did, we created a project, but we're going to go ahead and create a new project now for practice. And if you'll recall, we want to get in the habit of naming our projects before we open them. So we're going to pretend like we got a new claim, and let's say this is a claim for a claimant named last name Johnson, first name let's say Karen. So I'm going to type in here Johnson dash K-A-R-E-N, and the reason why these are all in caps, you don't have a choice for uppercase, lowercase in this field. And the reason why I'm doing a dash is because the characters are very limited. You don't have a space as a possible character, so an underscore or a dash works real well. So again, we're going to be adding a new project for Profile Carrier, and just as a refresher, we're making sure it's on Estimate, and we're making sure it's on Carrier, and then we're ready to click the Add New Project button after we've already named this new project. So let's go ahead and do that. So if you haven't done it yet, type in Johnson-Karen, and we're going to click on Add New Project. And I'll wait for you to catch up with me. Excuse me. Okay, so once again, we've landed on the kind of the intro page once you open a project, and that language project and Xactimate is kind of like saying you're opening an estimate. All right, so you've landed on the claim info page, and if you recall, we're skipping over this right now. We're going to deal with these details in later lessons and soon. One of the reasons is because there's a number of ways that you could be receiving claims from the company you're working for, and not all of them require that you enter in all of this claim info. So that's a discussion for a little later on. Right now we're going to move over to this Sketch tab. It's the third over from the top. Go ahead and click on Sketch with me. And if you'll recall, the pop-up for Select Price List is going to pop open because we have not set a default price list. We'll be dealing with that later. For right now, you are going to select this training price list. And yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to point out that if we want to, at the bottom left corner, there is an ability to set this price list as the default. I'm not sure if I want to do that yet. In fact, I don't. I want to do that after a lesson or two. Okay, so once we choose training price list and hit this button OK over to the side, then you're going to see that on the sidebar here under the search feature, search price list training is going to pop up. So we now have a price list that we can use. We're not going to be using this price list for this lesson. We have to select a price list to proceed. Well, we don't have to, but we're just going to get in the habit of that. but we're going to go right through that and we're going to jump right into some sketch features. So if you recall, we are going to learn a little bit more about rooms. So what I'd like to do right now is I'd like to direct your attention, so back up to the Tools menu, right? We're at this Tools tab under Sketch, and if you hover your pointer, your cursor over Room, you'll see that this is the Room tool. So we do a simple left click here, all right, and then we do a simple left click on the palette. And go ahead and do that. So get there with me. You've placed a simple standard size room on the palette. So let's take a little bit of a look at this room. So first of all, you'll notice that if you click off of the room and onto the palette, your measurements disappear. The room is not highlighted, it's not selected. If you click back on the room, your measurements come back. Off the room, you don't see your measurements. On the room is selected, and you get your measurements. Now, we learned in the last exercise, and we're going to refresh our memory here, that we can actually take these borders, and for the purpose of drawing in Sketch, we can move them out, give ourselves some more room. And we also learned that at the bottom right corner of the palette, this white area, there are some zoom tools, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, okay? Now the next thing I want to do is I want to point out that there are, now let's suppose that your room is off to the side a bit, right? Now, if you take a look at my pointer here, there's a little red triangle, a little red diamond, I'm sorry, diamond next to the name of the room, which is called Room 1. If I put my pointer over it, I get a arrow in all directions. That's an indication that there's some way that you can move it here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down my left click, and I'm going to move my diamond and therefore move my room into the center of my sketch. And I'd like you to try that, please, just to make sure that you're able to do that. So if I click off the room, I don't have the diamond or the measurement. If I click on the room, I've got the diamond next to the room name, and I can move it. Now, I was once asked in a class I was teaching, what's the name of that diamond? And I thought, that's a good question. I've always just called it the little red diamond. So I actually contacted Xactimate tech support, and I said, I'm curious, what is the name of the diamond that allows you to move the room right next to the name in the room? And the technician that I was talking to, the tech support guy, said, can you hold a moment while I research this? And he came back and he said, I talked to a senior tech support, and they said, we've always just called it the little red diamond. So that's what I've been calling it, and you can feel free to call that a little red diamond also. So if you recall, you can click on the room and then do another click on the name itself, and you can type in this case, this is the living room, so we're going to start typing in living, and you'll see that it auto-completes. If I click anywhere on the room after I've got living room there, I've now named my room. Please go ahead and do that now. I'm going to name this room the living room. Now, the thing that I want to point out here, in the last lesson we learned about these handles and how you can left click and drag these handles to move the size of the room. See? Like this. Go ahead and do that with me if you'd like. Go ahead and go over to your screen. I'll wait for you. In this lesson, excuse me. In this lesson, I'd like to talk about ways that I prefer over the drag method to change the room size. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit Control Z, which is undo. It's the same as hitting this undo button up here. And I'm going to get us back to a 12 by 12 room. Okay, so you can go ahead and hit the undo button if you've moved the room size and get back to a 12 by 12 room. Go ahead and pause the video and do that if you need. So what I'm going to do here is, instead of clicking and holding down and dragging the wall, I'm going to use this handle. Of course, any handle will work for this exercise. They all move walls, but I'm simply going to left click. And what I want you to do is, I want you to notice what happens with this number 12 right here as soon as I left click. So here's the left click right now. Take a look at that. See how I've got this underlined number 12, or 12 feet? It's on both sides. Now, cool thing is once I do that left click and I've got this underlined 12 foot, I can simply click on it and I can manually type in, using my keyboard, the distance I want. So let's suppose that this distance is 14 feet and 4 inches. Now, Xactimate actually interprets a comma as separating feet from inches. So I'm going to do 14, 4. Okay, and then I'm going to click on that. And so I'd like you to go ahead and do that. Just a refresher, you're going to do a left click, click on the handle, and then you're going to click on the underlined number, the distance, and type in 14, 4. Okay, and we've changed the east to west distance to 14 feet and 4 inches. Go ahead and do that. I'll wait for a moment. Okay, so the next measurement I want to talk about, we're going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to talk about the difference between using a period or a point and using a comma. So in this particular part of this exercise, I've clicked on the handle, so I've got my measurements highlighted, or underlined, I'm sorry, on both sides here. I'm going to click on this number 12. Now this time I'm going to do 11 feet, and I'm going to do 11, 1. So that's going to be 11 feet and 1 inch. And I'll click on the room. See, 11 foot 1 inch when I did a comma. Now I'm going to do the same thing again. Just watch me for right now. I'm going to click on this again. I'm going to click on the number, and I'm going to type in 11. You know, that's not the best illustration. Let me do this a different way. I'm going to do 11.11. Okay, and you'll see that 11.11 is 11 foot 1 inch, rounded. But if I click on this handle and I do 11, 11, you'll see that's 11 foot and 11 inches. So what I've done is I've done a bad job of illustrating this, but what I'm trying to say is it matters whether you use a point or a comma. Okay, now you might be using a measuring device that measures in decimals, right? But using a point, if I is saying that you know, I have so many feet in decimals. So I have, for instance, 11.11 feet, and that's going to be different than 11 feet and 11 inches. One is a division of 12, the other is a division of 10. You're talking about decimals or feet and inches. So you want to carefully understand what symbols you want to put in there. One last thing I want to talk about here. So if I click on the handle again and click on the numbers, Xactimate also understands this. If I do 11 on my keyboard and then a apostrophe and then 11 and a quotation mark, it understands that also as 11 feet 11 inches. Okay, but I don't find it the fastest way. The fastest way that I'm aware of is to use a comma to represent feet and inches, and I tend to do my measuring when I'm scoping in feet and inches. So that's the way I like, that's what my scope notes look like, so that's what I like to use when I actually put my measurements into to Xactimate. So to complete this little part of this exercise, I just want to remind you that this is a 14-foot, 4-inch room by an 11-foot, 11-inch room, and it's called a living room. Okay, and you're going to be adjusting the size using this method of clicking on the handle and simply clicking on the measurement and typing in using your keyboard the number or the feet and then a comma and then the inches. So go ahead and do that now. If you haven't done it yet, you'll want to pause the video and go ahead and do that. Okay, good. Now, the next thing I'd like to talk about, we're not going to do anything funky with curved walls or angled walls or anything like that yet. We're sticking to something that's fairly basic. What we're going to learn now is we're going to learn how to make a jog. And just so you know, a jog is something like this. Okay, we got a room with a little part that sticks out. Okay, so I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. So I'm going to hit this undo button, or I could hit the shortcut Control-Z. Okay? So here I am with in Johnson-Karen's estimate, looking at a 14-foot 4-inch by 11-foot 11-inch living room, and let's suppose this living room has a 5 by 5 jog. Okay, there's a little part of the room juts out that it's 5 feet long by 5 feet wide. And again, the default setting, which we're not messing with at this time, for the height of this room is 8 feet. We'll be getting to that at a later lesson. So what I want to do is I want to introduce you to and draw your attention to this tool up here under the Tools menu called the Break. This is called a square break. So if I hover my pointer over it, you'll see it says square break, and then the shortcut for that is B. All right, now you'll notice the symbol for this looks like a little snake with bug eyes kind of sticking up. Now, this is a really important tool, and you're going to use it a fair amount. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it, and what I want you to notice, right now you're just watching me, is that my pointer has changed. It's no longer a little point. It is a crosshair with a little snake on it, right? That means my pointer is kind of a, how do you explain it? Best way to explain it is like it's like a loaded gun. It's loaded with a brake, and it's waiting for me to click on something. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click on this wall. Now, the method I like to use, I'm not going to spend a lot of effort trying to get my square break in exactly the right place. I'm going to click approximately, right? And then what I get is a line here. That's where the break is. And now I've got two handles. See, one down here and one up here. That's brand new. Two handles with a line in between. So what this will allow me to do is I can actually hold, I can left click on one of these handles, hold it down, and either move it in or move it out. In this case, I'm going to be moving it out. So I'm going to hold down my left click, just go ahead and watch this, and I'm going to slowly scroll out, and scroll out until I get to 5 feet in the interior measurement there. See that? And then I'm going to release. Okay? So just watch me, and then we'll do this as a group. So now you'll see that I've got a 14-4 room with a 11-11 length or width, and it has a 5-foot by 4'3" jog. Now I want this measurement here to become 5 feet. I didn't get it exactly right when I clicked the square break onto the wall, and the reason I do that is because I find it easier to just adjust the size. See how I have to click on the handle that borders that wall? I'm just going to adjust the size after the fact. I find it so easy to just hit 5 and enter. Okay, so now I've got a 14-4 by 11-11 room with a 5 by 5 jog. And before I set you free and say, hey, go for it, I'm just going to show you quickly, reminding you that the shortcut to look at something in 3 dimensions is the 3 key on the keyboard, or this button at the bottom right, the little blue cube at the bottom right of the palette. Okay, so go to 3, and you'll see, I'm going to zoom out just a hair, you'll see what we've created here. It's a living room with a jog, and again, the shortcut to get back to the plan view is 1, and so that's what you're going to do right now. Just as a refresher, we've learned how to change the measurement using the click and then click on the measurement, and then we've learned how to use the square break tool. right? We're going to break the wall, we're going to pull out a jog, and we're going to adjust the size on the jog so that it's a 5x5 jog. So go ahead and do that now. You'll want to pause the video if you need to. Take as much time as you need, and remember, this is, you're not going to break anything, so you can tinker around with this. You can put me on pause for as long as you want. Play with this. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to end up with a funky sketch, and you can just delete it. And just so you know, anytime you want to, you can just highlight this room and hit the delete key on your keyboard, and the room's gone. You can start again. And also remember, you've got this undo function up here that you can use. Shortcut is Control Z. You can use this 5 times to go back up to 5 steps. Okay? Okay, so go ahead and give that a go. Okay, in this lesson that we've learned how to add a room onto the palette in Sketch, and we've learned how to adjust the size of the room using the click on the handle and click on the measurement method. We've learned how to use the square break tool, and we've learned how to make a jog in a room, because you'll see this quite often. Thank you for joining us, and we'll have another lesson that will build on this one very soon. Thanks for using Adjuster Pro.